Hello everyone. I'm going to demonstrate and show my final project on my community analysis and to be able to present the findings. So first of all, we'll go to my presentation, the PowerPoint that I've been able to create. And first is community one, which is soccer, which deals with the data set being the dates, numbers, player facts, position, then teams. Okay, so I will just present this. So the next one, it's the highest player earnings. So we work with the stakeholders, the league analyst, and then we will also want to figure out the salaries of the highest earners in the league. Reason being the performance to pay analysis. This may show the correlation between performance and the salary of the player. And that's how the SQL script. So finding the highest player earnings, it's all dependent on the performance, and that's the analysis done to determine the performance, and thus relating to their payment or to their salary that they might be able to get. Question 2, to find the average salary per team. So you'll have to use the stakeholder, who is the team executives, and then a question being that we want to find the total average salary paid to the players per team. The reason for that is to benchmark their spending against other teams and for planning future contracts. For that, you have to demonstrate using the SQL script demo that can be able to perform these tasks and be able to provide the answer of the question that has been asked of finding the total average salary per team. And that next is the highest team salary. So the stakeholder responsible is the league analyst, and then the question being that find the team that has paid the most to their players. To see if the why should we find that is to see if there is a correlation between their records and the salary. So if the salary the team has paid more of their players, then there is a record correlation with the salary. And the way we can do that is by writing an SQL demo to provide that information. Question 4 is salary per position. So how do we find the salary paid depending on the position of the player or in the field where the player is positioned? And the stakeholder behind that is the recruiters, looking at seeing what the league pays their players based on their position. So depending on different positions, the league might be able to pay differently, just to ensure that depending on how they see the position, some positions might need greater effort or skills, and thus the league might decide to pay players depending on the position they play. So when looking at recruiting, it is essential to know how much you will need to pay their player. If you need the midfielder or like defender, it now determines how much you're going to need to plan to spend depending on the position you are trying to hire a player for. And when you have the database, you can be able to have an SQL demonstration that can be able to demonstrate that by finding the salary per position, given that different positions have different salaries in the data set. So in those two symptoms, the data set is family, Visa, Cosmo, Planet Express, family names, and then transactions. Spending credit versus debit. The stakeholder is the risk and compliance officers. These are the ones responsible to ensure the spending credit versus the debit. Looking to see the spending done using credit versus debit. So it's the comparison between the two, between the credit versus the debit. Is to see, the reason to do that is to see the liability they have with the debit to credit spending. So they're trying to check, to compare between the credit and the debit of that given organization. And when you look at having an SQL that has these two, you can be able to compare by writing a demo that can retrieve the information that is able to compare the spending of credit versus the debit. Option two, you are looking at looking to see the status of the members' jobs and their position. The career counselor is the one responsible for that. Why is to identify gaps and support career development. So when you're looking at members' jobs and their position, you are able to identify gaps and support career development. So you can be able to employ or give a job employment to a person depending on the positions available that will help them grow their career and develop them. And that also helps you to understand some of the gaps available and now advertising for jobs available to be able to employ other people to work in those fields that have been that are vacant or that needs someone. So if you want to find the full name members, the full names of the members in that organization or that database, the stakeholder behind that is a family officer. And what you are looking at is to get the full names of the card members that are in that group. And the reason for that is to maintain accurate records and avoid repetitions or misspelling or error in names. So the using database query statement, you can be able to retrieve all the names that have been keyed in that database to ensure that all the names are as accurate as they need to be, and that it shows all the names as supposed to be. And if not, then you can be able to alter the information in that table. You can check for the highest members transactions. So the person is the family budgeter or the family budget. You're looking to see the most transaction made out of the members. So when you look at that, you'll be able to know the highest member transactions have made ever to be more. And the reason is to monitor who is spending most frequently and indicate habits and potential overspending. So looking at the transactions, they can be able to help you know the habits and potential overspending in a given member depending on how much they spend compared to the others. And this will help you to get the highest member transaction, and for the same on the other side you will know the lowest member transactions, and that's helping you to monitor who is spending less frequently and indication of no habits or potential overspending. And that marks the end of my presentation. And hopefully this has been more helpful a little bit to understand the question and to why, and also to be able to come up with the demo of the SQL query that can be able to execute this information and provide the exact answer needed. Thank you so much, and that marks the end of my presentation.